Good morning, everyone. Today I want to talk to you about something that every single one of us struggles with at some point in our lives: overthinking. The endless noise inside your head, the inner chatter that never seems to stop, the cycle of questions, doubts, fears, regrets, and what-ifs that drag you down and keep you stuck. You know that feeling when you lie awake at night replaying conversations, worrying about things you cannot control, thinking of what you should have said, what you should have done, or what might happen tomorrow. That is the trap of overthinking. It's not just wasted energy, it is a thief of your peace, your focus, and your ability to act decisively. And here is the truth. Your mind is supposed to be your most powerful weapon, but if you let it run uncontrolled, it becomes your worst enemy. The enemy within is far more dangerous than anything outside because it knows exactly how to attack you. So how do you stop it? How do you silence the noise in your mind and find that inner clarity that allows you to live, to act, and to dominate your life instead of being dominated by your thoughts? The first thing you need to realize is that silence is not the absence of noise, it is the discipline of control. You don't have to completely erase thoughts to quiet your mind, you have to learn how to guide them. When you overthink, you're letting your brain go on autopilot, running scenarios that are usually based on fear, doubt, or insecurity. But when you step in and take charge, you can redirect that same energy into focus, into discipline, into action. Instead of thinking about all the ways something could go wrong, you start asking yourself, what's the next step I can take right now? That simple shift moves you out of paralysis and into momentum. Silence is not passive, it's active, it's controlled, it's intentional. And the only way to stop being controlled by your thoughts is to develop the habit of deciding what thoughts are worth your attention and what thoughts deserve to be discarded immediately. Overthinking thrives in inaction. The longer you sit around thinking, the louder the chatter gets. Action silences doubt, action shuts down fear. When you move, when you execute, when you take that first step forward, your brain no longer has the space to run wild because you've given it a mission, you've given it a target, and that target becomes louder than the noise. Remember this, motion is medicine for the mind. If you feel trapped in thought, move your body, write something down, execute a small task, and break the cycle. A silent mind is not an empty mind, it's a focused mind locked on execution. But I'm going to be real with you, overthinking doesn't go away on its own. You have to train your mind like a muscle. Discipline is repetition. You must practice every single day the art of letting go of thoughts that don't serve you. Start small. The next time your mind starts spinning in circles, stop and ask yourself, is this thought helping me move forward or is it holding me back? If it's holding you back, cut it off, replace it with action, replace it with gratitude, replace it with a clear mission. You can't control every thought that enters your head, but you can absolutely control which ones you give power to. And here's something else, silencing your mind doesn't mean avoiding problems, it doesn't mean ignoring challenges, it means facing them with clarity, instead of chaos. It means removing the wasted energy of self-judgment, regret, and fear, and using that same energy to attack the problem head-on. When you stop fighting yourself, you finally have the strength to fight for yourself. That is when peace comes, not from escape, but from alignment. When your thoughts, your words, and your actions are aligned with your mission, your mind becomes silent because there is nothing left to argue about. So let this be the lesson. Silence is not weakness, it is strength. It is the strength to master your mind, to calm the storm inside so you can command the battlefield outside. When you silence your mind, you find clarity. When you find clarity, you build confidence. And when you build confidence, you unlock the kind of peace that allows you to move through life without hesitation, without overthinking, and without fear. So today, take control of your mind, silence the chatter, stop overthinking, build peace through action, discipline, and focus, because when your mind is silent, your mission becomes loud, and nothing can stand in your way. When we talk about silencing the mind and stopping overthinking, the very first thing we need to understand is awareness. You cannot control something you are not aware of, and you cannot fight an enemy you don't even see. Overthinking creeps in silently. It disguises itself as planning, preparation, and caution. It makes you believe that you're being careful, that you're being smart, but the truth is most of the time you're not planning, you're stalling. You're stuck in the endless loop of what-ifs, and that loop traps you in fear. The first key to silencing your mind is to catch yourself in that loop, to recognize when your thoughts have stopped being useful and have started becoming destructive. Because here's the truth, thinking is good, reflection is good, but overthinking is poison. It paralyzes you, it weakens your decision-making, and it stops you from taking action. And life rewards action, not hesitation. You need to train yourself to see the signs of overthinking. It usually shows up as replaying conversations in your head over and over, imagining worst-case scenarios, worrying about things you can't control, or drowning in regrets about the past. When you catch yourself doing this, you have to stop and interrupt the pattern. That interruption is powerful. It's like slamming on the brakes when your car is about to run off a cliff. Without that awareness, your mind will keep driving itself into fear and self-doubt. But with awareness, you can say, enough. This thought doesn't serve me. That's where the battle for a silent mind begins. And make no mistake, it is a battle. Your mind will fight you because it's used to running wild. It's used to taking control. You must take that control back with discipline. Silencing your mind starts with clarity about your mission. Ask yourself what matters right now. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, not 5 years from now. What matters at this exact moment? When you lock onto the present, when you force yourself to live in the now, overthinking loses its grip on you. Because overthinking thrives in the past and the future. It feeds on regret, and it feeds on fear. But right now, in this moment, you are in control. You can take a step forward. You can move. You can execute. That's the power of presence. Every time your mind starts wandering into overthinking, drag it back into the present. Anchor yourself with the question, what can I do right now to move forward? Another key part of silencing your mind is understanding the difference between preparation and paralysis. Preparation is useful. It equips you for the mission ahead. But paralysis by analysis, kills progress. Don't mistake sitting around thinking endlessly for progress. Thinking doesn't move you forward. Action does. The mind loves to trick you by saying, wait until everything is perfect. Wait until you have all the answers. But perfection is the enemy of progress. And if you keep waiting for the perfect moment, you'll waste your whole life standing still. The truth is, you don't need all the answers to begin. You need just enough to take the next step, and the rest you'll figure out as you go. That is how warriors move. That is how leaders lead. Not by waiting until the noise in their head disappears, but by silencing it with decisive action. Now, understand this. Your brain will never be completely silent. Thoughts will always come. The goal is not to stop thoughts from entering, it's to stop giving them power. Think of your mind like a battlefield. Not every enemy soldier deserves your attention. Some of them are weak, some of them are distractions, some of them are not even worth fighting. The same is true with your thoughts. Some thoughts are useful, those you keep. Some thoughts are useless, destructive or repetitive, those you discard. That's the discipline of a warrior's mind. Don't fight every thought. Choose the ones that matter, and let the rest go. A practical way to do this is through focus drills. When your mind is racing, give it a target. For example, focus on your breathing. Inhale, exhale, anchor yourself in the physical, because overthinking is a mental storm, and grounding yourself in the body calms the storm. Or focus on a task in front of you, something simple, like cleaning your gear, writing down your plan, or training your body. Action kills overthinking, and focus starves the noise. You can't think yourself out of overthinking. You must act your way out. Silencing your mind and stopping the endless cycle of overthinking is building unshakable mental discipline through control of your focus and mastery of your environment. Overthinking is not simply a problem of too many thoughts. It is a lack of control over where those thoughts go and how much power you allow them to have over you. When your mind is loud, when your head is filled with noise, the truth is simple. You have surrendered control. You've handed the steering wheel of your life to fear, doubt, anxiety, or distraction. And the way you take that control back is by learning to deliberately command your focus. Your focus is a weapon, and like any weapon, it can either be wasted or sharpened until it cuts through everything in your path. Think about this. Overthinking thrives in distraction. When you allow your environment to constantly pull you in 10 different directions, your mind can't settle. Your phone buzzes, you check it. Notifications pop up, you scroll. A random thought hits you, and you chase it. And without realizing it, your brain becomes conditioned to scatter itself. That scattering creates noise. The chatter becomes constant because your environment feeds it. The second key to silencing your mind is to eliminate that noise at the source. You must design an environment that supports focus, not one that encourages chaos. That means setting rules. When it's time to work, your phone is away. When it's time to train, there are no distractions. When it's time to rest, you give yourself real rest, not endless scrolling. Overthinking is not just mental, it's environmental. You train your mind to focus by first controlling your surroundings. But environment is only one side of the battle. The deeper fight is within. The reason most people can't silence their mind is because they don't control their attention. Their attention is a slave to whatever is loudest. If fear is loud, they focus on fear. If doubt is loud, they focus on doubt. If temptation is loud, they focus on temptation. The warrior learns to control his attention deliberately. When fear shows up, he acknowledges it, but shifts focus back to action. When doubt rises, he hears it, but doesn't let it take center stage. That's what mental discipline looks like. Not the absence of noise, but the ability to choose what you focus on despite the noise. That is silence in the middle of chaos. One of the most powerful ways to master focus is through routine. Routine is not about being robotic. Routine is about freeing your mind from endless chatter by giving it a framework. The reason Jocko Willink wakes up at 4:30 in the morning every day is not because the time itself is magical. It's because that discipline removes negotiation, and with no negotiation, there's no room for noise. When the alarm rings, there's no debate, no chatter, no should I, shouldn't I. The decision is already made. That silence, the silence of not having to negotiate with yourself, is the reward of discipline. And that's why routine is powerful. It silences the inner debate that fuels overthinking. Another layer of mastering focus is self-talk. Most people don't realize their mind is noisy because they never question the voice in their head. That voice says, "You're not ready. You're not good enough. What if you fail?" And instead of challenging it, they accept it as truth. But here's the reality. Your thoughts are not commands. They're suggestions. You decide whether to obey them. And the way you silence negative chatter is by commanding it with stronger words. Replace "what if I fail" with "good, I'll learn." Replace "I'm not ready" with "I'm prepared enough to start." Replace "I can't" with "watch me." Self-talk is not cheesy. It's a weapon. It's how you seize control back from the chatter. That doesn't mean you lie to yourself. It means you direct your mind towards strength, not weakness. But let's go deeper. Overthinking is not just noise. It's energy trapped inside you that has nowhere to go. That energy cycles endlessly in your head because you refuse to release it into action. And that's why movement, physical movement, is so effective at silencing the mind. Training, running, lifting, sweating, all of it forces your body to channel that restless energy outward. That's why after a brutal workout, your head feels clear. The chatter is gone. Why? Because action emptied the noise. That's why warriors train hard. It's not just about physical strength. It's about mental clarity. If you want to silence overthinking, you must move. Don't just sit there trying to think your way into peace. You act your way into peace. And there's another critical piece: acceptance. Most people feed overthinking by resisting it. They feel a thought they don't like, and they fight it. They tell themselves, "I shouldn't be thinking this." That resistance gives the thought more, silencing your mind. And stopping overthinking is execution. Relentless, decisive, and disciplined execution. Because here's the truth. Overthinking is not a thinking problem. It's an action problem. Your mind spins in circles because you're not moving. You're trapped in your head because you've refused to step forward. The chatter grows loud when your life stands still. But the moment you move, the moment you act, the noise begins to fade. Action is the antidote to overthinking. It's the cure, the weapon, the shield, and the answer. And this is not a metaphor. This is real. The human brain is wired to solve problems through action. When you refuse to act, you leave energy trapped inside your head, and it spins endlessly in the form of doubt, fear, and hesitation. The only way out is through decisive execution. Think about the times in your life when you felt the loudest mental chatter. It wasn't when you were moving forward. It wasn't when you were training hard, working hard, or locked in deep focus. It was when you were standing still, waiting, hesitating, replaying the same thought 100 times. That's what overthinking is: motionless energy. And the third key is breaking that cycle by committing to action, even when your mind screams at you to wait. The warrior does not wait for perfect clarity. The warrior does not wait for the chatter to disappear. The warrior acts in the middle of the noise, and it's the action itself that silences the noise. But action doesn't mean reckless, random movement. Action means deliberate execution of the mission. When you wake up in the morning and your mind is filled with chatter, you don't sit and entertain it. You attack the day with a plan. You execute. You move. That's why routines and systems matter. They don't just help you stay organized. They force execution in the face of hesitation. And execution is what builds momentum. Momentum is silence. When you're in motion, when you're locked in, when you're too busy executing the next step, the chatter has no oxygen. Overthinking cannot survive in the presence of relentless execution. And here's another reality. Overthinking often comes from fear of failure. You hesitate because you don't want to make the wrong move. You replay every scenario in your head, trying to guarantee success before you act. But here's the truth. There is no perfect move. There is no guaranteed success. And there is no such thing as certainty before execution. Certainty is earned after action. You don't wait until you feel ready. You act, and readiness is built in the process. Every warrior knows this. Hesitation kills. Hesitation gives the enemy time. Hesitation gives fear room to grow. The chatter thrives in hesitation. The cure is immediate execution. Even if you stumble, even if you fail, you've gained ground. You've silenced the voice of doubt by proving through action that you are moving forward. This is where discipline ties into execution. Execution is not about acting when you feel like it. Execution is about acting regardless of how you feel. Your mind will scream to stay in bed. Execute anyway. Your mind will tell you to put it off until tomorrow. Execute today. Your mind will say, wait until you're ready. Execute now. That's discipline, taking action, not because it's easy, not because it feels good, but because it is required. And once you commit to disciplined execution, you train your brain to follow orders. Over time, the noise fades because your brain learns that chatter doesn't matter. Execution does. Now let's talk about small execution. Many people get trapped in overthinking because they believe action means huge, life-changing moves.
They think if they can't do something massive, it's not worth doing. But that's a lie. Small execution destroys overthinking just as effectively as big execution. One push-up breaks hesitation. One email sent cuts through fear. One step forward silences the chatter. Because small execution builds momentum, and momentum kills noise. The key is not the size of the action, but the consistency of the execution. Every single small step compounds, and over time those small steps turn into unstoppable momentum. Another powerful element of execution is decisiveness. Indecision is gasoline for overthinking. The longer you delay a decision, the louder the chatter grows. You think about every possible outcome, every possible risk, and you end up paralyzed. The cure? Decide quickly, act immediately, adjust as you go. It's not about always being right, it's about refusing to stay stuck. When you make a decision and execute, you create clarity through movement. Even if you need to course correct, you're moving forward. But if you stay stuck in indecision, you're already losing. Silence comes from decisiveness, because decisiveness cuts the endless loops of what if that keep your mind noisy. And let's be clear, execution is not always comfortable. In fact, it almost never is. Execution means stepping into discomfort before your mind has given you permission. It means pushing forward while the chatter still exists. But that's exactly why execution works, because it shifts the battlefield. As long as you fight your battles inside your head, the chatter wins. But when you step into the real battlefield, into action, the chatter has no power. Execution changes the arena. Instead of wrestling with invisible thoughts, you wrestle with real tasks, real challenges, real steps forward. And in that arena, you grow stronger. This is why Jocko Willink talks about default aggressive. Default aggressive is execution in its purest form. It means when in doubt, you act. When you're unsure, you move. When you're frozen in overthinking, you default to aggressive action. You attack the problem head-on, instead of sitting back and waiting. That mindset destroys overthinking, because it gives you one default setting: execute. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Don't replay scenarios. Execute. That's how warriors silence chatter. That's how leaders move forward. That's how you take back control of your mind. Execution also builds confidence. Confidence doesn't come from thinking. You can't overanalyze your way into self-belief. Confidence comes from action. It comes from stacking small wins on top of each other. Every time you execute, you prove to yourself that you are capable. Every time you act despite fear, you weaken the grip of doubt. And that proof silences the inner chatter, because your brain can no longer argue against reality. Reality says you acted. Reality says you moved. Reality says you didn't let overthinking control you. That reality is unshakable, and it creates silence inside your mind. But here's the final piece. Execution must be sustained. One burst of action is not enough. You can silence the chatter for a moment, but it will return if you fall back into hesitation. The key is consistency. Execute daily. Execute relentlessly. Execute until execution itself becomes your nature. Until action is no longer something you force. It's simply who you are. That's when the chatter truly dies, because you've rewired your identity. You're no longer someone who overthinks. You're someone who acts. You're someone who executes. You're someone who silences the noise through relentless motion.